Well, I think we should first congratulate Joy for all the work she put into it. I mean, it was creative. She assembled an incredible cast. And looking at it on the big screen, it looks like a blockbuster with terrific editing. And the characters were just so believable, the theme. There's so many aspects of this film that opens up to discussion.
Okay, yeah, so I'm AJ Garrett. I play Hal's demon self, and the rich guy towards the end. Well, what attracted me to the project was I thought the idea in the script was very unique, and at the same time, I mean, unique in a sense that the message that it's going to convey to the audience, but also keeping it entertaining as well. I think it creates awareness as far as racism and the things that are still relevant in today's society. So I thought it was a unique idea of trying to create awareness, but also trying to be entertaining as well, and spooky and that sort of thing. And I enjoyed Joy's passion. When I first met her, I could tell right away that she was passionate about her film, and I like working with people like that. There was an intensity and a passion there, and that conveyed all the way through our filming process.
Thank you. Okay, so a couple of quick observations. How much history did you know about the South and the KKK? I mean, you really seem to get into character. Did you do any research on the KKK?
I'm not from the South, so yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research on the internet. I did some reading, that sort of thing. I've always been an avid film watcher, so I've seen films. I am aware of racism and the KKK and its history in the South and those sorts of things. But I did a lot of research myself, like I said, on the internet and reading, and I just over and over and over again, just trying to get the ideology of these hate groups into my head, and so that I can see where they're coming from and try to understand where this is coming from. So yeah, that's basically what I did. I just read as much as I could and observed as much as I could. It's about these
She
hate
said a
groups.
little louder.
Is this even on?
Yeah, it's on.
About the hate. I tried to learn as much as I could about the hate groups and their ideology and the way that they think and why they do these things, and yeah, so that's basically what I did. I just tried to engross myself in these hate groups.
Well, Felicia, who is standing here, her music just flowed perfectly into the subject, and I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about how you came to write the music and what it meant to you.
Hi. Okay, thank you, Deborah. I'm Felicia Val'Rey, and I've worked with Joy before on another project, so I kind of have an idea of how she likes to have everything tie in together. So, of course, by reading the script, I knew what the concept was, and by taking the concept and speaking with my mother, of course, my ancestors are from slavery, so speaking with my mother about it, I came up with a song. Joy wanted something that could go into the slavery part of it, and coming from a gospel background myself, I just thought about what would the slaves do if they were out there picking cotton and working hard all day and sweating, and I was one of the sweaty slaves. So I just thought about Mahalia Jackson as well, and Sojourner Truth, as well as Harriet Tubman, and came up with the song.
Great, there's a lot of history there. And of course, Sharena, you played an evocative, sexual, energized, exciting woman. How did you feel getting into that role? And since you had not done really their thriller horror prior
Yeah,
to
well,
this
when I
film?
first auditioned for it, I just thought it was a great role to play within an interracial relationship. And I really didn't find out it was horror until I was reading with my leading men. And I got a good look at the script. And at first I thought, wow, this is really intense. You know, I didn't know if I was prepared for something so intense. But as I got into it, really it just came naturally. You know, your skills as an actor just kind of, you know, snaps in, and you're able to put yourself in any role. But it was a really fun role. I love to be a little naive. I love to be lots of in love and, you know, all about my man, and he can do no wrong, and that was fun, and then I enjoyed the turn as well.
Well, you're working with an African-American female director, and we know traditionally African-Americans have not really delved into the horror genre. And how did you feel about this, knowing the history of African-Americans and not really wanting to delve into it until recently? So did you have any reservations about that?
No, not at all. I mean, I didn't have any reservations at all. I certainly enjoyed watching Joy and watching how she worked and how passionate she was about the script. And you see Joy in the credits. Almost everything is Joy, Joy, Joy. So it was really inspirational to see a black woman director just involved in every aspect of this film. So I'm not surprised, you know. Didn't faze me at all. It was a pleasure.
Well, to Joy's credit, I didn't realize that she had an art background, and we were looking at a piece of wood, and she said, you know, I used to carve with that kind of wood. So I did not realize that she was an artist until I saw the film. So Joy, can you just tell us a little bit about how you came to draw your figures? Was that like a narrative way of doing it, or as you wrote, did you draw the figures? And did you create as you wrote, or did you write the script and then do the artwork?
Well, the art in the opening of the film, it came last. I wanted something to complement Weesby Slave because the song was so strong, and I wanted it to get into to strike a nerve when people first sat down, because it's an eerie song. It has this kind of like eeriness to it, even though it is tied in the roots of, you know, of gospel and slave music. So I wanted something to complement it, and I didn't just want just credits. I tried to buy still photographs, and they were very expensive. I was able to purchase four or five that you saw in the montage when the nightmare montage scene. But I couldn't afford to buy any more. So I called and I spoke to, I got some legal advice, and I was told that if I alter some pictures, I can use them. So I said, okay, I'll draw them myself and I'll paint them myself. I tried to get an artist, but it didn't work out. And I always have taken the position that, you know, you try to hire people, and if not, you do it yourself. So I did try to hire a professional artist, and it just didn't work out. And so I said, okay, well, I do have an art background. I just dusted off some skills and dusted off paintbrushes and dusted off a lot of things because I haven't done it in many years. And it was really kind of, it was strange because the pictures, they do add another layer. And you kind of like, a lot of this, the film has different layers, and one of the layers is the pain, the suffering of our ancestors. And the photographs kind of like started talking to me, not literally talking, but kind of like on a spiritual level of the pain that they've, you know, must have gone through. And so to hear that combined with the song, and then we go into the scene of Hal's parents, and his father is continuing that legacy of hate, and his mother's trying to break it. And in my opinion, Hal kind of represents America. Which way are we going to go as a country? Are we going to continue in one direction of our past, of our scary past, or are we going to try to go to something more progressive? And he's caught in the middle. And Ginger represents a part of black people who we know we have to take a stand, but a lot of times it's easier not to take a stand. A lot of times it's easier to look away and just hope that everything works out by its own self, and it often doesn't, and we find out, in her situation, that she really should have taken a stand, and she really should have been more proactive in a lot of situations prior to things getting out of control. So she loses a lot by being kind of in denial. And so they really are symbolic on many levels. So yeah, the art is just an opening, a visual for the song to kind of set the tone.
And also the house itself,
Oh,
the
that
stained
house was
glass,
precious.
the
That
floors,
house was
the
precious.
lighting, it was just perfect.
Well, I want to thank Miriam Jacobs, who's here. Miriam nailed that house. Miriam also was one of the producers on it. She and I produced it. And yeah, I had been looking, I wanted a house. I had my checkoff list. I wanted something not too far away because I didn't want people commuting. I didn't want to commute. I wanted something affordable because, we did have to pay for it. I wanted something with wooden floors, and I wanted something with the walls had a coloring to it, and I wanted something with some type of ambiance. And so Miriam had a friend who knew, at that time she was a chairman of a small film school on Wilshire, and so she was used to letting people film in the film school, so that's good. She wasn't going to be frightened by a crew, and it had everything there. It wasn't far from those of us who lived in LA. It was far for you. But it wasn't far. It had wooden floors, the really thick wood, not the the thin stuff. It had nicely colored walls, and it had a strange feeling to it. It had an odd presence, and it had antique furniture. Some of the chairs were 300 years old, so it added to it. And I was afraid. Now that was good and bad. It was good aesthetically, but it was bad because I didn't want to make a mistake and break anything. So I we filmed it really tight and really safely. Had that been a set, I think we could have, stretched out more. But I did not want to have to replace anything in there. So everything was careful. We had to pad the walls every morning with bubble wrap and take them down before leaving. And I wish we could have built a replica of it and really done some strange things. But I just did not want to get a bill. I didn't want to get a bill for one shot. But yeah, the house was wonderful, and it was great for it was great. It worked out.
Are we hearing a sequel?
What I'd like to do would be to throw it out to the universe to get money to, if not promote it properly and release it properly, or maybe reshoot it, with a real DP, because I ended up shooting it myself, and I'm not a DP. With real people doing that, we were like Uber. We were like an Uber production. We did everything ourselves. Back in the day they called them guerrilla filmmakers. Now it's like Uber filmmakers, but. So sequel will be great, but we got to get this going at this level first before we can even talk about anything down the road. Do we have any questions? You want to open up to the audience for any questions?
What do the audience have questions? Because there were so many layers to it. Yes.
AJ, can I ask you, what message did you walk away with doing this movie? What did you get out of it as far as the message of the film?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your question. That's a great question, and it goes back to one of the things that attracted me to the project was, well, not only was my own awareness increased from, I'm aware of racism in today's society in the past and that sort of thing, but my own awareness was increased. But one of the things that attracted me to the project, other than what I already mentioned, was Hal's character wanting to change, and he didn't want. I believe in his heart he didn't want it to hate. He didn't, because it takes a lot of energy to hate, and his circle sort of comes full circle. He wants to break the curse. So it's that was one thing that attracted me to the film. Like, you have this element of racism, but he wants to break that and move forward and end that. So that was one of the things that attracted me to the film as well, and also my own awareness of what is so prevalent in today's society with racism and these sorts of hate groups and things like this. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to have you repeat it again because I was sitting in the back. I didn't hear you the first time. That's why I moved to the front.
Oh, that's okay. No, thank you so much for your question. Yeah, so.
Do we
And I
have-
enjoyed your performance.
Oh.
I mean, you were a scary guy.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
No, I think the both of you work very well together.
Yeah, they do. They complement
Yeah,
each other.
We had a lot of fun, so.
Yeah, they do. They make a good
I mean,
team.
even the kissing scenes, it looked like you guys were really kissing.
They were. They were. They were.
Do I see another hand? Yes.
I enjoyed the performance, and I have a question. How long was the film shoot?
We shot on 3-day weekends during 1 month. It would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then we would alternate Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So a total of 12 days, I believe, and they were pretty fast days. We booked everybody for 12 hours, but we never stayed for 12 hours. I think we were out in 8 to 10 hours, because I didn't want to do too much overshooting, because that's so much of a work during post. So if we could get it in 1 or 2 takes, we'd move on to something else. So yeah, about 12 days, and with a skeleton crew, mostly young people from Craigslist, who had not done much set experience. And I lost my DP 2 weeks before, and it was either figure something out or cancel, and I couldn't cancel. So I shot it myself. I just purchased a camera, the Sony A7S, read everything I could on it, looked at YouTube videos on how to operate it, and just said, you know, we're gonna land this plane one way or the other. We're not gonna crash, and and we landed.
And you did it too, girl.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
How did you wear all of those hats?
Well, I think the one thing about the digital, I grew up in the era of shooting film on film, 16 millimeter. And one thing about the digital, you can wear a lot of hats in the digital world much easier. Because when you're shooting 16 millimeter with those big heavy cameras, it's hard to do all that. I wish, and I just decided since I wasn't going to have a DP to shoot it kind of tight, as if we were doing TV. And so, and we didn't have a dolly, and we didn't have all those wonderful things that would have given us great moves, because we didn't have a focus puller half of the time, and we didn't have any of that. So we just shot it tight. And that's why it has that tight look like television in a lot of it, because we didn't have a choice. If we had a DP, with a dolly and with, people pushing us and all of that, we could have had all those great moves throughout the house. So it was just a matter of getting it done. But in the digital world, you can kind of do that. And then I'd done a lot of indie films in the past, so I kind of knew how to get through indie productions. I don't want to keep doing that, but for this one, I hope this is the last time. But my brother-in-law, Charles Burnett, he had done his film Killer of Sheep years ago without a crew, so I knew it was possible. And later in life, it won it was deemed by the Library of Congress as a treasure, a national treasure. And then I had studied under Haile Gerima at Howard, and so I knew you could do it. But it's not the best way to do a film, but you can do it like that. So you just do it. One day you do costumes, another day you do craft service, another day you come and you draw the paintings, another day you work with your actors, another day you just do that. The thing I wasn't expecting to do was the sound design, but I'm happy that it ended up, I had to do it, because you learn so much, and I think all filmmakers should do some sound design on their films, because it really takes it to another level when you have to lay down and choose. It became a new character, the sound. And had I handed it over to someone else, it would have been their interpretation, but having to put the footsteps down as she walked up, having to put the door cracking, making the sound as she opened it, having to put the cries and the hee, the whispers of the ghost and all that. I might have done a little too much. I kind of got carried away, but it was really fun going into the supernatural world via audio. It was really fun doing that.
It was fun for us to hear. It was amazing.
And I just wanted to add too, I think your clear vision added to that as well. Because we didn't do a lot of do that, take over again, do that, take over again. A lot of what was shot was a one shot.
Yeah.
Was one shot.
Yeah, if we could get it, yeah. If we
Yeah,
could get
because
it.
we didn't have the time, but also because you had the focus, you knew what you wanted, and you had a clear direction for your actors and everyone involved. So it was, yeah, a very efficient process
Thank
because
you.
of Joy.
And I want to thank the cast. They really nailed it. I mean, I really think the two of them nailed it, and they never complained, and they were just total professionals. And, you know, like she brings the elegance and the beauty, but really depth is like Ginger's character. So many black women have, our history in this country has been one of exploitation. And that scene where she finds out that during slavery he purchased her, and she's just sitting, you know, with the psychic, and she's sitting there. I think, you know, just how you're, and with the water in the background, it's almost like the 400 years of this exploitation has caught up with Ginger. And so I really appreciate, you know, what you did for Ginger, but still giving her grace and everything, but giving the pain and the suffering. And your character, you know, the scariness, but when Hal wasn't the demon, you know, just Hal being Hal, how you had to love her but trick her, love her but trick her, love her but, you know, but trick her. That's a difficult, you know, it's not that easy to do, to go back from loving her and in the basement talking to your mom about, yeah, I'm gonna get her pregnant. Okay, dear, yeah, I'm gonna get her pregnant, you know. So you had to go and play this strange character that was always in and out of good and evilness. So I think you both did a really wonderful job.
Thank you, Joy.
And we can hardly not mention